Hi, we are live here at Raven Street Dance Studio. Today we are going to teach you how to make otter wraps. The supplies that you will need is an otter, a yardstick, sinew, size 3 Glover's needles, a pencil, a razor, a lighter, and scissors. First, we take the otter and turn it inside out. We lay it belly down, flat on a surface. Our first step after laying the otter belly side down is to flatten it as much as possible. Now we come down to the tail. Take your yardstick and measure from side to side on the tail. It's measuring at approximately 4 inches. Find your center and make a mark. Next, we come down to the top of the otter. Locate the ears. You will find them, 2 of them, on each side. Take your yardstick and find the center between the ears. It's approximately 3 inches. So at 1.5 inches, we make our second mark. Approximately 2.5 inches from the bottom of your tail, find your center and make a third mark. Now using the yardstick, line up take your yardstick, match up the center of the tail and the 2 marks that you made. Press down the yardstick firmly onto the otter. Because it's a hide and it's flexible, if you don't, then your measurement could be off or your line could move. Now we have a line down the middle of the tail. Take your yardstick now. Stretch the otter and press it down flat. You may have to do this a couple of times while you're measuring. And this is to make sure that you're getting it exactly in the center of the otter. So now we line up from the line that we drew down the middle of the tail. With the measurement that's halfway in between the 2 ears. Press firmly and draw a line. Now you can see that we have a straight line down the middle of the otter. Now that we have our center line marked out, we're going to go from the center and measure 1.5 inches on each side. Do this all the way down the otter. The reason why he's using dots instead of a straight line is because when you are working with hide, it does get wrinkled and the straight line could get off. It's basically a guideline for when you're going to cut the otter. Some make their otter wraps 2 inches. Some make it 1.5 inches. Some like theirs 1 inch. It's just completely up to the dancer. It also depends on the size of the otter. Now that your dots are made, connect them with one straight line. Don't forget to press down with the yardstick because it does move around. Now that you have your center line marked out and 1.5 inches on each side marked out, roll your otter, and we're going to measure again 1.5 inches. This is because the otter wraps for an adult are made out of 3 pieces. Once we cut, we're going to have to sew them together to make the hair wraps come complete. I know a lot of you out there have various needs. Some of you are adults, some of you have children. So with this project, we're showing you how to make a deluxe adult pair. Some otters are big enough that you can get more than 1 pair out of the otter. It's also important to save your scraps. Otter fur is not cheap, and scraps can be used on other projects, such as in feather work, on bustles. Now that you've measured your 4th line, roll the otter to the other side and measure 1.5 inches. If you're wondering what that noise is, it's not a baby otter, it's baby Bishkanani. Say hi! Like most of us, we have to raise our kids and craft up at the same time. Now you're probably wondering where you can purchase an otter. Google is your best friend. Google it, and in your area, there might be a fur buyer or a tannery, or if you're a hunter or a trapper, you could trap your own. You can also check at Red Eye Supply or at your local powwow. An otter can go from anywhere, from a small otter from $100 all the way up to $200 and above, depending on the size and the grade of the hair. So now we have marked our 5th line, and we will begin cutting. I actually was wrong. We're going to stay on the same side and measure again 1.5. It's best to measure the otter completely before you start to cut, because even though it's round and it's flexible and can move on you, it's a whole lot easier to measure when it's in one piece rather than once it's already split. Okay, and now flip it and measure another 1.5 inches on the other side. When you're measuring this last set of lines, so you have the center, we came over on each side, that makes 1.5 inches, 1.5 inches. We did it again, 1.5 inches, 1.5 inches. We're doing it once more. We don't measure above the foot here. That's all going to be scrap here. So just come from the foot down and measure your last 1.5 inches. Now that we have all of our lines marked out, there should be a total of 7 lines marked out. 1, 2, 3, 4, that's your center, 5, 6, and 7. We're going to roll the otter on its side. Stretch it as best you can. Come up to the face. We're going to square off the face because these otter wraps are going to be sewn together to make one wrap. So come from the bottom of the mouth and make your line straight up. It's also because the nose is hard once it's tanned, so it'd be hard to sew through. Okay, so now we have all of our lines marked out. Now that we have our lines all marked out and the faces marked out, we will take our razor blade and we're going to cut the face off. You need to take your left hand and put it inside of the otter as well as gripping the otter at the same time. Using your right hand, if you're right-handed, to cut the line. If you lay it flat and cut it straight through, you're going to cut through both layers. And you don't want to do that. Very good. Now we have the nose of the otter removed. Now, when you're going to split using the razor to do the other lines, it's best to ask a friend for help. Like I said earlier, you don't want to lay it flat and cut it because it'll cut through both layers. Ask your friend to help you during this step. We're going to cut the tail first. So have your friend hold the otter firmly. Take your left hand and insert it inside of the otter to make sure that both layers aren't getting cut at the same time. Using the razor, follow the line that you measured down the center. Razor blade works best because it's not cutting the hair. Scissors would cut the hair, and you don't want that because you want your otter wraps to be as fluffy as possible. Now the tail has been split. Now have your friend pick up the otter, put their hand inside of it, insert the razor blade into only one layer of the otter, and slowly pull it down the center line. Pulling the razor towards you is best. It's easiest. Beautiful. Now we have the otter split down the middle. Beautiful. Now that the otter has been split down the middle, have your friend hold the otter firmly up by the head. Find your first mark, insert your razor, and begin pulling the razor split it down. Make sure that you use the marks that you measured out from dot to dot. Slowly pull the razor. As he gets further down, I have to re-grab and pull. Because I'm holding the end of it, he started here and pulled down. And then he can go up with it to get that final cut, or you can turn it around and hold it for him or her while they finish the top cut. Now we're going to go to the other side. Now that the body has been split open, if you do have a surface that you don't mind getting cut marks in, you could cut it against the table, but I don't recommend it. I made a mistake. I said that you could cut it on the table. I meant that because now that the belly was open, you wouldn't be cutting through to the other side, but I forgot that it would cut the hair. This is an example of how it would look if you cut the otter against the table. The hair would be cut against the edge and wouldn't be nice and fluffy. So I'm still going to hold it above in the air. And he's going to continue to go with the marks that he made, dot to dot. If you don't have a partner, I suppose you could use a C-clamp of some kind and clamp the end so that it's being held. But crafting with a friend is always fun.